Hey everyone, Greg Sullivan here, JCETI and CE-5 Inside. Today we're talking about my spiritual milkshake. What's in your milkshake? This is a concept that kind of came to me after seeing a lot of people in our network, in our community, going through the same process I went through and many of you all are going through. And that is, we seem to mix and congeal all sorts of different influences and information in our development, in our spiritual awakening. And ET contact, CE-5 contact seems to really accelerate that process. What is the concept of this? It's really, especially with everything going so fast online these days, for me, myself, I reconnected with a lot of the spiritual information that I was interested in from a junior high school on. And once that hit the power of a research engine such as YouTube, I was blown away at how much actual information was out there and how much I still didn't really know. That process started around 2006, still in the early days of YouTube. The spiritual milkshake is also a metaphor. It's the way which we nourish our spiritual selves. It's a way we nourish our soul. And it is a blend of different influences, because as we integrate the information, it becomes our own. And it becomes colored with our own personal tastes and interests and biases as well. Why is this an important metaphor to potentially consider? It's because that it can help our spiritual development go even smoother and quicker instead of stagnating on any one particular area of research or interest. So on this kind of hero's journey of awakening, we all usually have an experience of one key book or seminar or occurrence that happened to catalyze a sort of breakthrough experience. This is true for so many figures in the field: David Icke, Bashar, Darrell Anker. A lot of people started off in the UFO field with just a sighting. That breakthrough experience or sort of catalyst event triggers this positive spiral up of research and development. I'd say this is definitely something we set up for ourselves before birth, especially in my experience, my visit in 2007 to Mount Adams CE-5 Ranch. I was pretty much alone at the time, but had a very transformative few hours there. Didn't even stay over. And then that triggered, everything before and after that. That was sort of like the 0 point, the ground zero of my spiritual experience, and especially the entryway to the AT contact and ascension world. And before that was in a junior high school. By chance, someone in my father's office had written a book called The Occult Connection that had stuff that even would be advanced for me now in there. So even just looking at that, it was undecipherable at the time, but an amazing trigger, with the Project Grudge documents. And we were reading a lot of Tom Clancy at the time, quite young for reading those books at the time, but that military-industrial vibe was definitely afoot in those days. And then going into a few years later in early high school, William Bramley's The Gods of Eden, talk about a bombshell. That is a catalyst book for a lot of high-level researchers as well. And that was just a jaw-dropping, several years of major contemplation and thought involved in that one book. Definitely highly recommended for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. So concept 2. So then as we start to gain momentum, it's a spiritual development of our energy capsule, our energy body really, and especially the mental body at first, where as we are able to hold more and more light, quote unquote, and information, the stuff that was indecipherable before suddenly becomes very clear through our experience and the fact that we can retain that amount of spiritual understanding. It involves the terms initiation and graduation. It is an esoteric process as well. It's a multi-phasic development, a multi-level development, and it is a sacred process for each person for sure. So through various introductions to different elements and perfect timing, synchronistic timing, things click in ways they wouldn't have before, and now we realize that was that other angle. This new facet to the multifaceted gem that is our spiritual awakening becomes visible and recognizable. It's funny how when we don't recognize things, the information seems very flat and two-dimensional. That also ties into information that is spiritually or hermetically sealed. We could get into secret societies and everything, but that is like the information that isn't ready for certain initiates is in fact potentially hidden, if not encapsulated or hermetically sealed, and so that even if someone was to look at it, they would have it wouldn't mean anything important. You just kind of gloss over it. I think we've all had that experience as well. And in the end, our spiritual mind becomes like a milkshake. So we have these different elements. We have the different ingredients, milk, sugar, water, ice, fruit, nuts, whatever else, different flavorings and seasonings, maybe a booster shot of vitamin. It is a perfect metaphor for the way these different types of information exist. There's such a gradation of genres out there, and always further increasing, further developing. One point for the end is that my feeling is that we shouldn't get too caught up on past genres, especially in this day and age, and especially with a genre like ET Contact CE-5, is that it is about the future. We are downloading what has never been put into form yet. So one of my most unwavering stances through these 10 years in JCETI is that we should not defer to the past or past knowledge, past research. Very little, if any at all. Adding and subtracting. So, of course, with the milkshake, of course, we're first adding and adding and adding and blending and blending and blending. But as with any meal or shake like that, we can add too much. And eventually we hit a ceiling where we've had our fill, we're full for the time, we need to digest. And eventually when we go back to the blender, maybe the next day, 2 days later, a week later, so to speak, metaphorically, we're ready to make a new shake and remove some of the ingredients that were in our recipe before. Eventually, we outgrow schools of thought, and we integrate them so much that we've forgotten where the information came from, as well as we also discover the roots where certain information first came from, and connect deeper into that as well. Those are all very healthy and normal steps to this procedure. And at certain points, we realized that there were elements that we had taken on that were just noise. That's always a very hard thing to watch happen. It involves being the compassionate witness. I often see clients or members of our group that are just involved with things they really shouldn't be. That's not my place to judge at all. But I'll give a hint. They will ask for my opinion, of course, and I'll give an unbiased opinion, but and maybe some advice. But whether they employ that or not is completely up to them. And we have all sorts of people who have come and gone and come back after years of not being around, and they're back on track with what we're doing. Until they hit a rock wall, it's that everything is for their development. So there is no right or wrong in that regard. It's part of the process. Not to get off on a tangent, but there are, of course, beings and energy that take advantage of people in that young kind of Bambi phase of awakening, but that's a whole other conversation. And we can only know what to subtract by adding too much. So it's sort of like a process of, parents and children, where the adolescent phase, we drink too much, we party too much, we stay up too late, we drive too fast. That's all the part of growing up, isn't it? So maybe just a quick exercise for you to try. What's in your milkshake? Think about the terms, the keywords, the genres, the teachers you've been most influenced by in the last 5 years, maybe even 10 years, and write down a book title, a movie title, and take a look and see, ask yourself which ones are going to be with you forever, which ones are sort of fading, and which ones have already faded out. Again, there's no judgment at all. It's just an exercise in being objective about your own development. And you'd be surprised how much is out there. You'd be surprised how much things that you'd never think have been ever verbalized exist somewhere. There's nothing new under the sun, they say. But I do think there are elements, especially in the ascension field, that are definitely brand new. So that is the one thing that's very, very exciting to be involved with this at this time. And that can help us, and also learning from the past helps us avoid the pitfalls of the past. And, speaking to Dr. Greer as to why he has not made the CE-5 contact initiative any more of a school-like or something with like licenses and degrees, is the very fact that those schools often get hijacked and taken over, for one thing. And so when your milkshake, ask yourself, are you holding on to any bits and pieces just out of habit? Always question your ingredients, question your recipe. And be open to brand new influences and things that you might not have been aware of before. Knowing that they're out there is one thing. We all know that there's tons of stuff we don't know, but being open to it is another thing. And that's what I've been very thankful for, to be able to be in touch with and be with the different spiritual publishers we work with here, and all different sorts of workshops that happen in Japan that we get invited to or may participate in. It's always a refreshing surprise to discover a genre that you never knew existed, or there's always some sort of new body work coming out here, and of course there are people who have been keeping, wisdom keepers who've been guarding very important knowledge for a long time, who are slowly coming out of the woodwork to share their wisdom in this for this age, for this day. Okay, thanks a lot. If you like this, subscribe to the channel below. Other related links in the description, and we'll see you next time. JCETI, Greg Sullivan from Tokyo. Thank you.